everyone, welcome back to Living Electric. We are in a different setup today.
Yes,
very different setup.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, we're here in my living room. We've got Brandon and Tyler in town today, so we're shooting a video podcast here on the couch. A little more casual episode, but my fiance Mallory's with us, first-time podcast guest, and Tyler is with us as well, second-time podcast guest, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
third time.
Okay.
Yes.
We got to remember to pass the mics around too. So we've only got 2 mics,
Yes.
and I've attached them to wooden kitchen utensils. So we're doing the best we can here on our low budget. So make sure you buy some merch.
Yes, definitely.
So I don't think we have a ton planned for topics today. We figured we'd have both Tyler and Mallory on the podcast to talk about their views on electric vehicles, I guess, because they're kind of. I feel like you two aren't as in deep as we are. So
Tyler is.
I am.
He's, yeah.
yeah.
You're getting there.
So, first question for both of you, and we'll pass the mics around. Would you be as interested in electric vehicles as you are right now if it weren't for both me and Brandon?
No.
I'll say yes. Because when I worked... Oh, here.
There you go. Yep.
Right here.
Not too close.
Don't want to lick it. I'll say yes, only because throughout my time in college, I actually worked for a BMW dealership. So I was actually there for the launch of the i3 and the i8 whenever it came out from 2015 to 2017. So I was pretty involved with the dealership with car launches. And I've always had, I don't know, my dream car to this day is still the original Tesla Roadster. Too expensive, but I would love one.
True.
But I would say I love cars regardless, so I feel like I would still be interested.
That's fair. Mallory?
I don't know how to expand on no, honestly.
Yeah, you're not into cars as much.
I'm really not. I had a truck as my first car, and I'm planning on getting another truck, given it is a Lightning, but that's kind of what the farthest interest I had into cars, so...
I do have a question, because we did talk about this as we were prepping for today's episode, and that audio probably sounded really bad there. But can you guys give us a little bit of information about like what you guys do professionally and how that could tie into like EV planning, especially like charging stations and parking lots?
Yeah, parking lots.
Yeah.
Parking lots is me. So I am a civil engineer, and I do site design at my company. So basically all we do is the architect will give us the layout of where they want the building, and then if they have a parking lot design, sometimes they'll give us that too, and we figure out where all the utilities need to go, how to get everything to the building, how to conform to all the codes and everything for whatever city, county you're in. And then we give you the plan set with all of that information on it.
And have you like ran into like any planning that has involved EV charging? Like, or is that something that's been discussed?
Me personally, my boss's boss does have a Tesla, and my direct boss, he's got a plug-in hybrid. So they're both like very aware of charging situations, which is it's very nice because they actually like understand when someone wants to put in chargers. That's one of our other projects. One of my coworkers was working on it. They wanted to just like plop them down the farthest away from the building, and my boss was like, "You have to get electric to that. You know that, right? Like, this is a utility." So it was good to at least have that base level of understanding, and then he can talk to me about it and be like, "Listen here, listen what they wanted to do." So it is nice in that context, and we've been just discussing like charging like around this area because he lives over where we work, which is very close to here, and figuring out like what actually works or asking questions. Like he had a question like, what do we do in this situation? I was like, I might know that actually, or I can ask my boss about that.
Yeah.
So that's nice. So only a couple situations, not directly yet, but hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Some places will be like, oh, we'd like to put in chargers with this build.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That'd be a great experience.
It would be nice.
What about you, Tyler Boggs?
Well, thank you for asking. So my background is in user experience and human-computer interaction, design and research, and also a little bit of strategy. I kind of do everything within the UX world. So a lot of my work deals with the experiences that drivers or other users will experience, just in terms of like location, maybe how the charger works, because there's so many different types of level 2 DC fast chargers, level 1s out there. So really just understanding location, if that works for the user, or if the location's a bad part. Because there's some parking lots where they stuff you in the back corner, and then you have to walk a mile just to get to wherever like the restaurant is, the store, wherever it is. But I study kind of like all aspects of that and just see, and then also ask the user as like kind of like an interview, like, okay, what do you think of this? Is this a great location? What are the pros? What are the cons? Those sorts of things. But I feel like I would probably work more with the companies that implement the chargers and see how their apps or software works. I know my phone just slid. But yeah, just kind of understanding the user and just making sure that location works for them, for the charger. And then also probably ask them if they use the mobile app, like the ChargePoint app, or EVgo, or Let's Try America. But I'd probably work more so with the tech people in understanding how they go about putting those in.
What are the biggest gaps or opportunities for improvement, we'll say, in the EV charging experience do you think needs filled right now? Like, what's the biggest one you think could, like, if you could change it instantly, it would improve things a lot?
There's too many apps out there. So, to all those charging stations, there's too many apps and too many companies. I think a lot of it, too, comes down to accessibility of the charger. There's some locations that we've run into before where if you have a wheelchair, you're not going to be able to get to the charger itself. So that's going to be a con for you,
right,
if you're trying to plug in, because you can't get behind there.
Yeah.
And then I think, too, I feel like there's so many variations of there's mobile apps to find a charger, for that company. And then, or there's also times where the credit card reader is there, and that's always broken. Or, most times it doesn't work. I feel like there's too many areas of improvements at the moment. I mean, most locations are pretty good. Like, it's nice, like, ChargePoint, you just, have your account, use your RFID card or your phone, then it usually connects and whatnot. But I just feel like these companies that just rush the production of their mobile apps.
That's fair.
Yeah. Because then I feel like there's a lot of communication problems. That seems to be the majority. I think it's just making sure that you're communicating to the user how to use your mobile app.
Right.
And then how to plug in, how to charge. Because there's some screens that don't even tell you what to do.
Yeah.
But then Let's Try America is like, okay, you plug in your car first, then you use your credit card, use mobile app, and then charging.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think if it's... Hello. I think if the experience is designed properly, then you shouldn't need to explain to users how to use the charging station or how to use an app or anything like that.
Yep.
Another comment I was going to ask too. On the site design aspect, you said about like accessibility and stuff. So I've found out through my job that it varies by jurisdiction whether they require that or not. So like some areas require you to install charging with like ADA compliance is like the main thing, but others do not. So like I think that's something, it's a very much a gray area because sometimes laws aren't even written or in place for EV charging station to say what the right thing to do is. So I think, you probably have some comments on that.
Well, I was going to say, like, so ADA is very regulated, so that's something, I literally have that hanging up on my cubicle at work as I have a little printout is like, this is how you make those spaces, here are all of the dimensions of it. And that's something that is good and important to have, but it needs to be done for EV charging specifically. So just to have, like, we have a whole detail sheet in AutoCAD to put on our drawings, and we don't have even one single sign that is similar to another sign for like EV charging. So there's no standards at all yet that we are aware of. So either we are going to have to make those standards, and at least all of our drawings are going to be same across the board, which is good, or some city is going to have to do that, or some county, or something just has to be in place that is not at all yet, which is a good starting point. But
I I will say that that's one thing that like I think the EV industry is so like wild west at the moment.
Very
like there's
much
just
so.
many things that like still need to be regulated, need to be reviewed, and just accessibility and availability for every driver that's going to pull up, to a station needs to be addressed.
Right.
Because it's not good. Like when you pull up to a station and it's like all the way, like you have the curb and then it's like 5 feet back.
Yep.
How are people going to reach that? Like
Right.
if they can't get to it. So yeah, to me I think it needs to be reviewed. So
Definitely. Yeah, and it's hard because and I hope we get to a point where the vehicles are more standardized too, because the vehicles very much like influence the charging stations we're putting in, and vice versa, I guess too, because like we see a lot of stations going in, like it's kind of a tangent, but like the Tesla conversation, if they're going to open up their charging network, which it sounds like they're going to, and start adding CCS, it's like, well, how do you accommodate all these other vehicles that are different sizes? They have charge ports in different locations. There's a lot of different considerations. And with a charging site, you have to be able to accommodate all kinds of vehicles. Like you're not just going to have Teslas pulling up. You're going to have ID4s. You're going to have Ford trucks. You might have like a big Rivian van pull up. Like there's all kinds of different cars out there and trucks. So
well, I was gonna say even because it's a different. You're not just parking there to park and then go in a place. Like you are parking there so that you can get out of your car, you can plug your car in, and you have to just the simple act of walking around to your car. And that there's extra equipment there when you're not just like you're getting out and going somewhere. There's extra stuff there that you need to be able to maneuver yourself around and plug something in, even if you're not in a wheelchair or some other sort of mobility device. It's just it needs to be basically all it is it just needs to be a wider parking space, and then you just have to have little walkways between. It's not hard to do. Like, have you seen a Costco parking lot?
yeah, right. Yeah, that's a
They
prime
have very
example.
wide spaces.
Yeah.
Because they have all the carts, and it's honestly a really good accessibility example because their parking lots are very nice. They're very easy to maneuver.
Yes, yeah.
But if you had like something like that at all of your charging stations, regardless of what charging station it is, you wouldn't have to worry about, can I actually park here to get everything around and all of that kind of stuff. So again, different standards need to be put in place.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, we witnessed that today when we plugged in our Model 3, like the charge port's on the other side, and where we parked, we had to drag it over, like pretty much over the trunk lid.
Yeah.
And then plug it in. And even then, the cable was like bent at a weird angle.
It's so awkward too. Just
Yeah.
to like just pick up and like put it in there and then like make sure that it's in and not being dragged back because it doesn't like stay in that one place. It's not locked in.
Yeah. Yeah, the functionality behind it all, I still think needs to be like heavily like analyzed and then improved upon.
Right.
I feel like
Yeah.
I've mentioned that in so many episodes of Living Electric. Like, there's just such room for improvement.
Definitely. Well, I'm hoping we see it kind of take the same progression that like just technology in general has. Is like the first version of a lot of stuff like sucks. Like it's just not good. Like sometimes the technology is cool and the like maybe it has some cool features, but then like it gets really good after a few years. Like I always compare things to like the iPhone or like smartphones in general. Like the early smartphones were awful. The touchscreens were bad. Some of them had to have styluses, which like didn't work very well. And not till like the iPhone came out, and even the first iPhone wasn't that great. Like the first iPhone didn't even have apps on it. Like, like some of the stuff was really bad when it came out, but it was still like a marketable improvement over what was existing, and it's continued to get even better and better. And now like everybody has a smartphone. Like even the non-iPhones are pretty good, even though Brandon might not agree. But but yeah, I think we're getting there. It's just like I think. Did the stats come out recently that we're getting close to like the 5% of new vehicles are EVs, which like I think that's the point where things become like popular and people start at like you hit that S curve where you're really like it's really picking up. So
Yeah, I think it was just the first quarter of the year it hit 4% of like, cars sold were
That's
EVs.
awesome.
So I can only imagine what quarter two is going to be like once we see
Right.
those numbers, especially with gas prices just being insane. Like
yeah,
people are going
Definitely.
electric.
definitely.
Yeah. So I do have a question for you guys. So now that like you guys have been like living with an electric car for like a few years now and like getting the true ownership experience, what's one good thing you've witnessed with driving an electric vehicle, and what's one bad thing you've witnessed, and how would you improve that?
Those are good questions.
I could have been a teacher.
I mean, I've always had secondhand vehicles, which I liked having my truck. I like my SUV. I don't like paying for it in any sense, though. Like, not just the gas prices, the maintenance. It's a lot. So even just with driving, like, his car to work every day, that's basically the only time that I drive it because we don't take my car. I just like how little work there is into it. Like, if you want to make it nicer, you can make it nicer, as for all cars. But if you don't really have to do anything else to it. Be like, oh, nothing. Like, I don't have to go get the oil change. I don't have to worry about the little sticker at the top of my car that's looking me in the face right now on my car. I don't have to go get gas for it because we can charge at home. Or especially in Columbus, though, it's like we can go charge. If I go get groceries, I can go charge. If I go to work, there's a bank right down the street I can go charge at that I can walk back to work for. There are so many. It's so much easier to maintain it, like, in every sense of the word, in my experience so far. So it's one of my favorite parts, honestly. I don't deal with any downsides personally. I think the only part is just dealing with, like, knowing where you need to stop, and that's not necessarily bad. It's just a different mindset than what you're used to with a gas vehicle. Because if I need to get gas and I didn't do it last night, then I have to go do it in the morning. But that's fine because I know where the gas stations are. But I have to plan trips, but he plans them, so it's not a big deal. But you have to plan trips when you have an EV. But you just have to think about it slightly more in advance. It's not really, and once you do it, it's something like that becomes, like, more routine, easier for you to do. So there's my good and bad.
I would say for me, the good. I like fueling up at home. Just plug it into our level 2 in the side of our house, and in the morning you have your, tank, your battery full of charge. It's so convenient not to have to go to a gas station anymore. Kind of same thing as Mallory. Sometimes I miss my old gas cars, like my old sports cars.
Yeah.
But I hated putting gas and spending the money for gas maintenance every single year. I hated that.
So my grandma is my icon because she's never pumped gas in her life. And I was like,
That's awesome.
aspire. I hate getting gas.
Yeah.
It's made me realize more too. I was like, gas stations suck. They're creepy and I hate them.
I know, yeah.
But I was like, well, I mean, now I can become my grandma if I get an electric truck or any electric vehicle.
Yeah.
I don't have to pump gas
You don't
ever
pump
again in my
gas
life.
anymore.
And it'll be amazing.
I would say, for me, there's kind of like two, like, to me, they're minor bad things.
I said one bad thing. I'm just kidding.
Hey, they're two small ones. Okay, two small ones equal one big one. Yeah, it's a half one. Like, similar to Mallory, you have to have a different, at first, but now I'm used to it. At first, you have to have a different mindset of where you can find chargers, and there's lots of apps to help you out. Like ChargeWay and PlugShare and etc. And you just have to change your mind a little bit of where to find your next fueling station. My other little minor bad thing is, this is just me, but there's not enough affordable electric cars that can go 250 miles. Now, you have, like, the Chevy Bolt is a perfect example of a $30,000, 250 mile EV. But we need more of those.
Right.
It's like not everyone will be, as fortunate to have a Tesla or a Rivian or even a Lightning. Even a base Lightning is $50,000.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just, the other thing is, I really hope that as technology advances, we see those $20,000 to $30,000 EVs everywhere,
Right.
because it's more affordable for everybody else. Because I feel very, very lucky that we're able to have, we have a second car on the way, but we feel so lucky to have that. And I know not a lot of people can do that. But I'm like, I just want a small $20,000 electric car that gets me around town, and that's it. And then just have our long range EV for trips.
Right.
That's just like a minor thing that I know will come with time. We'll see the cost come down for cars.
Right. We're actually both I mean, we just got your SUV back, but we're both as couples down to one car right now. So
Yep.
what's it been like living with one car? Like, does it been? Both of you work remote, I guess, so it's probably not as bad. But have there been some struggles with living just with one car right now since you're waiting for your next one?
I mean, that's a good question. Like, I'm trying to like wrap my head around like some examples. I think the biggest hurdle is that like if Tyler or myself went somewhere and one person was staying at home, like if there was ever like an emergency, you're kind of like out of luck, you know,
Yeah.
like you kind of have to figure that out. Obviously, you just pray that that never happens.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been, I don't think it's been too bad. We haven't really witnessed anything like terrible. Like Tyler
Okay.
will go grocery shopping, I'll stay home, or most of the time we go everywhere together.
Yeah.
So like it hasn't been too bad.
Right.
But I think it makes it easier that we both work from home
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and that the car's always there if we need it. So
Yeah.
yeah. What about you guys?
I was gonna say it's the only time it's been a struggle is because I work remote. Mallory works at her office, so she has to go into work every day. And for the most part, I am just here working from home. But there's some days where I'm either traveling or I am have to run errands during the day. I have a doctor's appointment or something like that, and it's like. So then my options are either taking you to work in the morning with my car, having my car for the day, and then driving to pick you up, which like takes close to 2 hours out of my day, the 20 plus minutes there, 20 minutes back, and then doing it again in the afternoon. So it takes time out of my day, but then I have the car. So it's kind of a trade-off. And I have to get up earlier too, which I'm not a fan of. So
That's what
I-
coffee's for.
So I get up and I get around like an hour beforehand, and then I wake him up like 10 minutes before we need to leave, and that's early. Just for context,
What time is that typically at?
I wake up at 7, so he's getting up at 8. Like that's
It's not too early.
I know.
We're typically up
Not
at
to
like
roast you or anything.
5:30. But that's
Yeah.
because the dogs are, so like
gonna
that's
say.
why when it was kind of nice to get away to like sleep in without having to get up and get the dogs.
yeah, we got to train our cats better to. I mean, they're trained pretty well. They don't wake us up till like what 7:30 usually or 7 usually, 6:30.
Like 6,
Oh,
6:30.
okay. I sleep through everything, so I don't notice them in the morning. But yeah, that's really been the only thing is like if I need the car, then I've got to take her to work, or like I went to Detroit a few weeks ago and had to take my car, and she had to like find somebody to drive her to work. So like that can be kind of a struggle. But I did just get an e-bike, so I've got some videos coming to the channel with the e-bike soon, and that'll kind of be our second vehicle right now. We did get your SUV back, but I have a feeling that's probably not going to be driven hardly at all, because most stuff is within biking distance in Columbus, so I can take the bike, and it's got like I think max of like 60-mile range, so like I could get across town if I needed to, but we'll see what it's like.
Say, unless we're like picking up furniture at IKEA or something, we're not using my car.
You're not going to use the bike for IKEA rides or trips?
Maybe if you get like a little like bag of gummies. I'm not picking up a Kallax dresser or something.
I guess maybe like Dream EV, we can wrap up with that. So like if you could either an EV that's out right now, or if you could design your own, like what kind of features would it have? What would it look like? All that kind of stuff.
I think there's not a car out currently besides our Mini that's coming in that I am so excited about, our Mini Cooper Electric.
It's gonna be so cute.
I am so. We'll have to bring it down. We will bring it down because it's gonna be so cute. We are naming our Mini Cooper, which is gonna be British Racing Green. So I wanted green. It's gonna be Mindy the Mini. Mindy the
I love
Mini.
that.
But I would say.
It's gonna be. You should make it mint green.
Oh, that would look cool.
White wheels.
And then it's all the same.
Yeah.
Mindy the mint green Mini Cooper.
I like that. Yeah, nothing is out now, but I know there's a lot of speculation for Mazda to come out with a Miata electric within the next 5 to 8 years. That right there is my dream car. I like small little sports cars. As long as it has at least 150 miles of range and a decent, DC fast charging curve, that's all I would care for. And then Brandon will have his Rivian and we can just use that for everything else.
It's a tax write-off.
That's a write-off.
It's a write-off.
I would say mine's probably just going to be the Ford Lightning, because I guess that my first car was a truck, and it made me feel a little bit superior.
It's a power thing, right?
It is a power thing. Yeah, we said that last night. But I like being that high up. I like being in a truck. I grew up in a more rural area. That was just the thing that you drove. But I like it a lot, and it's just like, you see this truck that you love and enjoy? What if it was electric? It's just an added perk. So I don't have any other like wish list items. I just want a truck, honestly. So it comes in handy.
I was gonna say, but there's been other electric trucks before the F-150, but the F-150 has been the only one you liked, right?
Yeah, because it looks like a normal truck.
Exactly.
And it's real.
And it's real. That's true. Yeah, really.
No shade.
The only electric trucks that are actually out right now are the Rivian and the F-150, right? And the Hummer, I guess.
And the
if
Hummer.
You count the Hummer.
Yep.
Which.
It's like 3 times the price, too.
Yeah.
So, well, maybe even 4 times.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think that wraps it up. Brandon, Tyler, thanks so much for coming to town.
Thank you guys for having us.
Yeah. Mallory and Tyler. Mallory and Tyler, thank you for joining the podcast. Let us know if you want them back on or not. Either way.
Yes. We'll do a poll, yes or no.
Yeah.
I'm just
Answer
kidding.
below.
Tell me if they say no.
If you don't get an invite, then you know the answer. But that'll do it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye.
Awkward wave.
Awkward.